Nightwish is alchemy, turning every album platinum. In a small Finnish town, a campfire crackles by a mist-covered lake. It's October 1996, and something big is brewing. Sparks fly, visions paint the night, and a young musician sat by the fire is struck with an idea that will change metal music forever. From this spark, a legend is born. A band with operatic vocals floating over uproarious drums and mythology colliding with metal in a fantasy of epic proportions. This is the story of Nightwish. A symphonic metal phenomenon forged by fire, passion, and something that feels just a little arcane. Well, maybe not League of Legends arcane, but you get the idea. Magic, pure and intense, like camping. Now, Nightwish has dominated world stages, inspired millions, and even earned a spot in the Finnish Hall of Fame. I mean, come on. When the metal goddess herself takes notice, it's practically a divine decree. Their latest release, Yesterwine, dropped in September 2024, and, well, to no one's surprise, it's already topping the charts. But more on that later. Let's just say this wasn't their first time pulling off something extraordinary. But behind their meteoric rise lies a story of intense breakups, jaw-dropping exits, and a relentless drive to push musical boundaries, no matter the context. So, how did a band born from a campfire dream go on to rewrite the rules of metal? How did it survive challenges that would shatter most bands? And what's the secret behind their soul-stirring musical genius? When it comes to Nightwish, every song is a cathedral of sound built on the rubble of heartbreak and raw ambition. Surprisingly, Nightwish didn't start out with grand orchestrations, legendary symphonies, or any other words that take 3 or more syllables to say. It all started with Tuomas Holopainen, that young musician from the campfire who wanted to create mood music, something that felt like stepping into a dream. That's when Holopainen joined forces with guitarist extraordinaire Empo Vuorinen and classically trained singer Tarja Turunen. In its very first avatar, Nightwish began as a humble trio. Friends experimenting with acoustic sounds and folksy melodies. And this goes to show you don't have to start with something grandiose to make an impact. There's nothing wrong with beginning small, mindful, and even demure. But even a flicker of fire can grow into an inferno. In this case, a metal inferno. In 1997, Jukka Nevalainen stepped in on drums, and that old acoustic guitar swapped for something, aiming for a little more grit and firepower, like the electric guitar. And Nightwish was no longer a side project, or a side quest if we're following this theme. No longer a dream whispered around a campfire, the band was setting off on a whole new course, one that would eventually flip metal on its head and turn even the most hardcore metalheads into opera enthusiasts. This shift in their sound led to the recording of Angels Fall First. It was meant to only be a demo, but when Spine Farm Records got their hands on it, they decided to release it as Nightwish's debut album. Imagine thinking you're just gonna ease your way into the scene with a cute little demo, then suddenly, BAM! Your forced debut album hits the charts. Talk about having imposter syndrome. And Finland? Oh, Finland noticed. The album hit number 31 on the charts, with the single breaking into the top 10. But that was just the beginning. Nightwish took the stage for the first time in Kaiti, their hometown. That night, under the dim glow of stage lights, a small crowd witnessed something extraordinary. The birth of a band that would become legend. With the arrival of Sami Vanska as their full-time bassist, the lineup was finally complete. Gen 2 or 3 of Nightwish had arrived, but this was far from their final form. In 1998, when the music scene was drowning in grunge and boy bands, Nightwish was busy creating something entirely different. the band unleashed Oceanborn, and suddenly the gates of Metal Valhalla were thrown open, and the Valkyries were unleashed into the metal scene. Now, grunge had its sad, plaid, walking in the rain aesthetic, and boy bands, well, you know, they were polished fashionistas with a questionable, rubbery charm to them. But Nightwish, they brought grace, drama, and an inner strength no one saw coming. Now, Oceanborn wasn't just any album. For Tuomas, the band's creative mastermind, who easily looks like he could conjure magic but instead sticks to crafting symphonies, this was the real Nightwish debut, a proper introduction into the world. The music was intricate, and the songs themselves were larger than life. So much larger than that little campfire spark all those years ago. With every track, Nightwish wove stories and built landscapes, crafting their own lore. The kind of behavior you'd expect from a poet's daydream or an author's wildest imagination. Tarja's voice was an operatic, haunting powerhouse, unlike anything the metal scene had heard before. Sure, there were other symphonic metal bands bubbling in the underground, but Nightwish was the one who kicked down the door and pulled the genre into the spotlight. The synergy between Tarja's vocals and the band's complex arrangements became the solid foundation of their sound. They cranked the atmosphere even further than 11 with Wishmaster. And fans were ready and a bit thirsty for it. But before long, the band found themselves in stormy waters. By 2001, things weren't all sunshine and sold-out shows. Sami Vanska's enthusiasm was fading, band tensions were brewing, and the magic, well, it seemed to be slipping, and maybe even disappearing. I guess Tuomas wasn't the best magician after all. Or maybe he was, because he almost made the whole band disappear. Basically, this is a cheeky, roundabout way of saying that Holopainen was moments away from disbanding the group. Can you imagine? One of metal's biggest forces almost snuffed out before they inspire millions, before they made entire crowds cry, and before they reached their greatest heights. But then, with a last-minute plot twist worthy of any great story, Tuomas decided to stick it out. With a few adjustments, of course. Vanska was replaced by Marko Hietala, whose gritty vocals and killer bass playing added a whole new edge to Nightwish. With these lineup changes, the band wasn't just refreshed, they were reinvigorated. Think of it like a hockey fight. Sometimes dropping the gloves isn't about the fight, it's about reigniting the fire, rallying the team, and charging back onto the ice with renewed purpose. Nightwish lore got a lot more interesting. 2002's Century Child was seismic for the band. With dramatic orchestras and mystical choirs, the album exploded onto the scene. Again, it went gold in just 2 hours, man. Yeah, 2 hours. How did that even happen? Did every person in Finland just pick up the phone at once? Like, how does that work? Is there some secret Finnish time anomaly I don't know about? Okay, so they don't have time anomalies, but they do use daylight savings, so we could be onto something. Either way, that's the kind of magic we're dealing with here. And when fans thought things couldn't get any better, Once came out in 2004. It introduced one of Nightwish's most iconic songs, Nemo, a dramatic, powerful track with a silly, nostalgic name. When most people hear the name Nemo, they tend to think of the same thing. The little clownfish with daddy issues from Pixar's Finding Nemo, which, by the way, had just come out in 2003. The timing's a bit suspicious. But don't let the chum fool you. There's so much more depth to that name than meets the eye. In Latin, Nemo means nobody, or no one. And it was famously used in Homer's The Odyssey, where Odysseus tricks the Cyclops into claiming his name is Nemo. It's clever, haunting, and perfectly fitting for Nightwish, who were weaving epic tales through metal. Of course, in hindsight, the name Nemo carries quite the irony for the band. After all, how could something so dramatic, so layered, and so steeped in myth also be tied to a fish, or perhaps another ocean-dwelling creature. But we'll come back to that concept later. By now, Nightwish had gone from a local Finnish band to metal royalty, filling arenas and sharing stages with heavyweights like frickin' Iron Maiden. But here's where the Nightwish saga takes another dramatic turn. It's October 21st, 2005, a sold-out homecoming gig in Helsinki. The lights go down, the crowd is roaring, and the energy is electric, per usual. But after the final song, as the band walks off stage, an open letter makes its way to Tarja. It's the band's official way of saying goodbye, citing creative differences but hinting at the turbulence behind the scenes. And the news spreads like wildfire. The drama was so intense, it made headlines across the country. Even Finland's prime minister was weighing in on the story. Yeah, it was pretty big. Nightwish stood at a crossroads after Tarja's departure. The question in everyone's mind, could Nightwish even survive without the voice that had defined them? Fans were in mourning, and skeptics were ready to write the band's epitaph. The stakes were high, but Holopainen was already on the hunt for a new voice to lead the band. Enter Annette, or Annette, Olsen, a Swedish singer who rose above 2,000 hopefuls with her rendition of Everdream. In 2007, Olsen was announced as the new frontwoman. And the fandom? Oh, it was divided. But Annette wasn't just a replacement. She was a reinvention. She brought a pop-rock shimmer to Nightwish's symphonic roots. With dark passion play, Nightwish doubled down on their symphonic grandeur. They teamed up with the London Philharmonic Orchestra and Metro Voices for an album that was part metal, part movie score, and fully breathtaking. And the result? A sonic experience that felt larger than life, like stepping into a world where every note was charged with emotion and imagination. Nightwish wasn't just back, they were feeling young again, with a youthful edge to their signature fantasy-driven sound. But even this wasn't the peak of their creativity. Cue 2011's Imaginarium, a full-blown metal fantasy album with its own feature film. Imaginarium unfolded like a hauntingly beautiful dreamscape, brought to life with otherworldly orchestrations. And now let's go ahead and add that to the list of Nightwish adjectives with 3 or more syllables. Because, of course, artists being artists, sometimes one medium just isn't enough. The album was a swirling storm of exotic instruments I can't pronounce. Some Irish stuff, some Persian things, and a sublime fiddle of sorts. Just when everyone thought they knew how to pronounce Nightwish terminology, the band threw in these global terms and flavors and left listeners floored. Nightwish seemed to be hitting their stride, but things were getting complicated once again. In 2012, Annette Olsen was struggling with health issues. Tensions rose during the North American tour, and when Olsen suggested postponing the Australian leg due to her pregnancy, the band had other plans. That's when a singer named Flora Jansen was brought in to finish the tour. Things got real messy. Of course, Olsen wasn't thrilled with the plan. She worried that fans might prefer Flora's raw, intense style over her own pop-oriented approach. And to be fair, her worries were pretty justified. The tension within the group snapped, and by the end of 2012, Olsen's time with Nightwish was officially over. The band cited creative differences, yet again, which honestly is the most suspiciously polite breakup line in music history. Meanwhile, Flora Jansen's bold, metal-driven style clicked perfectly with Nightwish. By 2013, she was officially crowned the band's new frontwoman. And it wasn't just her. Longtime touring member and multi-instrumentalist Troy Donockley also joined the official roster the same year. With Flora on board, Nightwish released Endless Form's Most Beautiful by 2015. By the way, there was something in the water in 2015 because, man, it was a goldmine of incredible albums, so you knew this was gonna be a hit. Inspired by Darwin's theory of evolution, the album was heavy, reflective, and undeniably epic. So epic, in fact, that scientists named a newly discovered, very specific coral reef crab species in the band's honor. Yeah, a crab named Dramedy, Nightwishorium, I think. Please help me. No matter how you pronounce this word, I think Darwin would be proud. Human to Nature dropped in 2020 amidst that awkward thing that happened that year, and the album continued the Nightwish tradition of exploring philosophical and reflective themes. It was the last album to feature Marko Hietala, who left the band in 2021. Jukka Koskinen joined the band as their official bassist the following year. Drummer Jukka Nevalainen had already stepped back from touring due to health concerns, passing the drumsticks to Kai Happo. By now, lineup changes were practically a norm for Nightwish. But, despite the shifts, the band's sound was anything but shifty. Nightwish didn't just keep going, they kept growing. So, what exactly makes Nightwish the titans of symphonic metal? A band with a legacy so rooted it feels unshakable. Well, according to musicologists, yes, that's a thing, and a lot of loyal fans, it's not just about the music. Nightwish doesn't just make songs, they create an entire universe, a fandom, where magic, mythology, and art collide to form something that feels infinite. From their music and lyrics to their magnetic stage presence and stunning visual storytelling, Nightwish is more than a band. They're an immersive experience. Even their album covers are like chapters of a story, each one pulling you deeper into the world they've built. And this whole Nightwish universe thing, it's not just some catchy marketing phrase. Researchers think it's an actual part of what pulls fans in so deeply. The recurring themes and stories act like a mental anchor for fans all around the world. It's not just about listening to the music, it's about feeling like you belong to a village of dreamers and storytellers. And honestly, that's freaking cool. I mean, who better to guide us through this magical realm of poetry and romance than Nightwish themselves? One of the coolest things about the band is how they play with modes and chord progressions to create that otherworldly, existential feeling. This layering of tension and release makes the band's music a portal to another world. It's like hearing the classic opening line, "Once upon a time," and then BAM! You're whisked away to a realm of ancient magic, towering castles, and misty landscapes where anything is possible. The music makes you feel strangely nostalgic, like you're longing for a time that's buried deep in your blood. Holopainen is a master of weaving lyrical poetry with deep emotion and setting it to arrangements crafted with breathtaking precision. The results are songs that balance heart and structure so effectively. It's no wonder artists like Epica's Simone Simons, Sonata Arctica, and even Floor Jansen's former band After Forever have cited Nightwish as a huge inspiration. And here's a fun fact for the bookworms. Tuomas has a reading list that would make any literature major proud. We're talking Edgar Allan Poe, Tolkien, Walt Whitman, and even Henry David Thoreau. From shaking up the metal scene in the 90s to dominating the charts in 2024, Nightwish has done it all. Oh, also, by the way, they've even created their own wine. I mean, fancy. It's perfect for them. And just when you think Nightwish has reached the top, I assure you they'll find a new way to climb even higher in 2025.